I noticed you bring the bar down pretty low. It's like, I remember when I came up to super training, I'm benching out like this. Because I always thought, for some reason, this is like the bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And then the power lifters bring it down here.
I don't think there's really like a wrong or right way necessarily, but when you start trying to like lift heavier, it seems like bringing the elbows in and stacking your joints gets to be more important. So it's like you want your elbows under your wrists, and yeah. And obviously it's not gonna look like that when you go real heavy, like it's kind of an exaggeration, but for chest activation, I mean, you do want the elbows kind of out, you know? And I tell people all the time, just train both, you know, do it both, because both are good.
That's what I had. Little Smokey gave me the
the
lowdown on how to get set up, because I just laid down, grabbed the bar, kind of what felt comfortable. Little Smokey goes, he goes, no. He goes, go past the bar.
Yeah.
He goes,
pull yourself in.
Load your legs up. He goes, and get the retractor shoulder blades back and down. And I for the life of me, it sounds easy, but when you try and grab the bar, so when I go to reach up to grab the bar, my shoulder blades come out from. Yeah. So
that's what happens. People want to shove. They want to shove the weight out of the rack, or sometimes people are trying to unrack it with strength.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they just lift by themselves, but you want to pull the weight out of the rack. You know, the pulling of the weight is like a pullover. So I'm just gonna like pull it. You would lift it a little bit, and then it would boop, whoop, and then it go right to me. So a lift off, everybody. When you lift off to somebody, it shouldn't look like this. It should be like this. You pick it up, and then I'm like, oh, he's got it. Boom, like that. Nice and easy. You're not trying to shove it to the guy. And now, see how his arms had to do that?
Yeah,
you want it nice and smooth. Boom.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. That's how you lift the weight off for people.
How do you pick, like for your grip, it looks like you go a little wider sometimes, and then you come in. I mean, you just...
Yeah, I mix it up quite a bit. I like to go here a lot. If like in here feels pretty comfortable. Thumb away from the smooth part of the bar. But when I was lifting big boy weight, my hands would be out here a little more.
And you wrap your thumb.
Yeah, I wrap my thumb. This would be like, this shortens the range of motion the wider you go, but then it also might require, you know, some different strength. What I've actually seen, which is interesting in taller guys, and in quite a bit of women as well, is when you have a far way to press, a lot of people do better with a closer grip, believe it or not.
Wow.
That's kind of counterintuitive, right? You would think, oh, the taller you are, maybe the wider, so you can shorten that distance. But I've seen a lot of people do pretty well with the closer grip. This is a preference thing after a while, and your body's mechanics. I think from like a power lifter standpoint, when you do some of these movements, you almost don't want to feel them. You want to like get them over with. From a bodybuilding standpoint, you really want to feel them, and you want to like try to use almost the least amount of weight as possible to get the stimulus, you know? Because why would you go heavier if you didn't have to?
Yeah, the thing that I don't understand now, there's so much talk about achieving failure between 6 to 8 reps. There's all that talk. I mean, the Dorian Yates, Mike Menser, less volume. They call it junk volume. But I come in, there's the Russian, the Russian high volume. I try to find that medium, warm up really, really well, and then like when training with you, pick that set where you go balls to the wall, and you just kind of give it all you got, and then move on to something different. But it's just finding that happy medium. I think one of the things you say is there's no right and there's no wrong way.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Anyway, just for me, it's just get a really good warm up because I'm older. Make sure everything's fine. Like you said, do a checklist in your head.
Yeah, how's the shoulder? How's the tricep, elbow?
Yeah, and then start working your way up with weight that is going to be a challenge for you. That fight or flight. I think the fight or flight, to me, when you get into the point where you're nervous and your nervous system's like the CNS has to fire.
Yeah.
and you're a little bit worried, and you get that. I think that's where the growth comes in. I mean, it's just over my
Being
experience.
a little scared on whether you're going to make it or
whether
not.
you're going to make it or not. Exactly.
I think even putting the weight on, I mean, you and I have done that. Like, there's some exercises that are perfect for that, and there's other exercises that aren't as good for that. Like if you're trying to be really strong, then it's good to do it on a squat. But in general, squat or deadlift isn't a great place to like roll the dice, because you can get the risk to reward is high. But on like the Viking press, there's really not much risk. Maybe you'll tweak your back or something a little bit, but it's like, just give that, you know, put a lot of weight on that thing and give it a good shot. And what's going to happen? You just don't lift it. It's like not a big deal.
Exactly.
There you go. If you could, see if you can push your heels towards the ground. Yep. I know it might make your back kind of feel fucked up, but there you go. Nice. I always think it's really important that people aim to try to drive their heel towards the ground. Your heel does not need to be flat to bench press. There's all different kinds of ways of benching. In fact, some people are really strong even with their feet up and stuff like that. But when I see people benching with their feet on the ground, I try to make sure that they're not just like this the whole time. This angle right here, in my opinion, closes you off and kind of makes you like kind of hang out in here. So I'll show you what I mean. You get back here, and if my back is tight, then my feet are going to be like this, and my calves are going to be like flexed. It's going to kind of shut some of this off. And I want my pelvis like rolled that way a bit, because I want my chest up. We're trying to increase the range of motion, or sorry, decrease the range of motion and increase the stability. So decreasing the range of motion and increasing the stability happens right here when I go get my arms here, get my hands situated, and now I'm gonna pick my body up, tuck underneath, and then I'm gonna drive my heels towards the ground. As soon as I drive my heels towards the ground, it makes my butt cheeks flex, which drives my hips up a little bit. And then you want those knees to be like almost like down. And some people will even bench with their feet way underneath them. But even when your feet are way underneath you, I think you're better off, rather than being here and closed off, I think you're better off being there and more opened up. Sometimes it can kind of tweak your back a little bit, so you got to be kind of cautious on how much you arch. Each person's going to be a little different. My main advice would be to try to open up through here rather than like the lower back. The lower back, most likely, if you come back here, it's going to be like, mine's so off the bench that my hands aren't even pinned underneath me, like they're free to move. So it depends on how big your butt is too, but so you don't really have to arch the lower back. Just try to pull up the chest, and you're trying to get more distance between wherever your belly button is and your sternum. So you're taking this guy here and you're going, rather than being like this on the bench with your toes up like that, you're trying to go boop, and make this like all long. And that way you can sit your shoulder back in the capsule correctly. The same thing, like if I was to throw a pitch and I was trying to throw a pitch in here, it's like I can't really throw it very well. And if I did, I'd probably kind of hurt myself. My arm would be like too far forward. I need to open up more. And some people like to go with the suicide grip. Mike's been lifting for a long time. I trust that that's not going to be an issue, but I think for younger people, like maybe just learn how to keep your thumb on there, because I have seen people lose benches before and it just kind of sucks. You want to make sure that you have a good barbell though too. So before you even start your lifting, like just roll the bar around and make sure it's not bent. Because if the bar is bent and you have a suicide grip, the likelihood that it might roll out is going to be increased quite a bit. But people like to do that because it sort of takes some pressure off the wrist. Sometimes having that thumb in there just sometimes pushes it puts the weight into your fingers more, And what Mike is doing by bypassing and taking the thumb off is he's putting the weight right here. And you end up stacking the bones. It's like a fighting strategy, really. You boxers use it. They punch a bag or punch a wall. You start to stack those bones. If you hit something like this, you can hit it really hard. You can punch stuff really hard if your bones are stacked. If they're not stacked and you hit it awkwardly, then you're like, holy shit, I totally hurt something. But when they're stacked, you're okay. So the thumb off the bar sometimes just puts the bar more into your hands than into your fingers. And basically, I would just say, yeah, I would say that's an absolute. Just never have the bar in your fingers when you're bench pressing. Just never have the bar in your fingers. Have the bar in your hand. And if you have to put it in your hand with the suicide grip, then maybe that's the way for you.
I got to answer one of the age-old questions. Plates in or plate out?
I think always bigger plates are always, they're all in, except for like when you start to get to like the 2.5s.
Yeah?
The 2.5s I think go on backwards. Yeah.
Okay.
In a powerlifting meet, they put the last one at the end of the line backwards.
Okay.
They just always do it. I think it's so the judges can see.
They know.
It's a little easier. So like if you have colored plates, like they do in competition pretty often, even a quick glance, I could see like, oh, there's a yellow one and it's facing out, and there's a green one facing out. Like the green shouldn't be facing out because the yellow is the last one at the end of the line or whatever, you know. So you could see it a little faster. But yeah, in the gym, you know, I was taught at a young age in Poughkeepsie at Mid-Hudson Bodybuilding that if I put the 5s or the 2.5s facing in, that it causes disaster and chaos. The guy like took the weight off and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, goes, the smaller weights always go on facing outward. And I was like, okay. And he goes, you watch. He goes, something bad's gonna happen. He goes, because you already did a set. He's like, you're already fucked up, you know? And me and my brother were driving home from the gym.
Thinking about that?
Well, we were driving home from the gym and a fire truck went flying past us. And there was a fire in like one of the buildings that was close by. And my brother's like, you started that fire, you asshole. So because we're gonna work up in weight, I'm just gonna do like low reps, like 1 to 3. I've always liked doing this. It conserves energy for the other sets.
Mark showed me I used to wrap my wrist wrap. I'd wrap it right around the wrist, and it felt really good wrapping it like this. He goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm wrapping my wrist. He goes, no. He goes, get it up across.
Like a boxer, wrap the fist a little
wrap
bit. Yeah,
that. He goes, get it thick right in there in the crease, rather than ride it all the way up like I used to. He's like, get it down in here and get that shit nice and secure and tight. Because you're trying to protect your wrist. And as an older lifter, man, any little bit of advantage that I can get, I'll take it. I'll take whatever I can.
Who wants to be thinking about their pain when they're lifting? You know, you don't want to be, you don't want any blocks. You want to be able to just to lift. You want to feel good when you're lifting.
Yeah. Man, I love these too. These are 2 years old, and I still, every day I use them. By the time I come in, every day I use them.
You know, here's something I think it's great for everyone to start to change the language that's in their head about what they can and can't do. Someone might think like, oh, powerlifting, like I'm too old to powerlift. Well, what is powerlifting? You know, powerlifting is bench, squat, deadlift. And powerlifting, if you're competing, is usually done with just like 1 rep, right? So maybe not everyone has to go to that extreme, but just about anybody can bench, squat, or deadlift. It just depends on how you do the movement. So, you know, when you start to look at exercises, a bench, squat, or deadlift, those are great movements. And you said you haven't benched in a little while. That's actually a good thing because it means that you've been working on some other stuff.
Yeah.
But I think you always kind of circle back around to things too. Like maybe it's been a while since you've done a squat, but then, you know, I do so many variations of a squat. It's been forever since I've done a barbell back squat, you know?
For the longest time, I used to use my excuse was, well, because I'm so tall and I have long arms and I can't lift as much as someone who's shorter with short arms, the T-Rex lifter who can just move tons of weight. In my head, it burned that in my brain, like, oh, you're too tall to lift that much weight. And then I'd watch Brian Shaw, who's 6'8", long ass arms. I'd watch Hathor, all these guys with long arm, longer than mine, taller, and they're moving crazy amounts of weight. So immediately that train of thought that you got long arms and you're not blessed with a barrel chest, that's all bullshit. It's like you should, in your head, think, well, fuck, Brian Shaw is 6'8", 400 pounds, and
yeah,
he's moving crazy amounts of weight. So to me, seeing that is no longer, like Mark says, no excuses. Just kind of do what, get in there and do your best, and don't condition your brain to thinking, oh, I can't do it. So it was nice. I was able to reset that and just do the best I can.
Just do it at your own level.
Do it at my own level.
And maybe you suck at it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You can get better.
Get better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, it's actually kind of good. When you're not that good at something. Like I wasn't that good at running, then it's like, okay, well, I have so much. This is going to be great because there's going to be such a level of rapid improvement. It's going to be insane, right? All right, here we go. So I'll probably do another single here, and then from here I'll just sort of think about the weight that I'm going to use. Nice thin belt. This is nice.
What are some of the benefits of using the belt? Keeps your core, or is it for support? For me, psychologically, I know when I put that belt on, it triggers, okay, this is serious weight, get your focus going. I like snugging it up a little bit. And
I like some of that feeling. I mean, I think, having a particular uniform, like I'm sure when you were a police officer, just throwing on your police officer uniform made you feel a different way.
Everything had to be lined up a certain way.
You're putting on a bulletproof vest, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's game day, right?
Yeah.
Football, you throw on a helmet. Baseball, you got a certain uniform. It feels good in lifting to have like a certain uniform. It sort of gets your nervous system sort of fired up and excited. But a lifting belt on bench is because your back is in like this static position for however long you're going to be on the bench for. Whereas when you squat or you deadlift, your back's not really in a static position like that. And so I kind of like the support because I feel like I'm sort of arched through that area. And then having that support is also going to help me to use my stomach. So not a lot of people know that a lifting belt, it does help your back, but it helps your back via your stomach. It's something that sort of turns on your stomach. And you want it kind of snug, but you don't want it too tight, because it's too tight, then you can't really breathe into it well. So now, I could stick my thumbs in there, but I'm able to push my stomach out. So as I lay back on the bench and as I go to do my thing here, I'm gonna push out like on the sides a lot with like the obliques, and that'll just make everything else just feel more stable. One of the disadvantages sometimes to doing like a barbell movement, Mike and we're kind of taking our time, but they take a while, to properly warm up for them and properly get ready for them. Whereas if Mike and I started today's workout with a machine, which we did a little bit of warm up here, so we snuck in one machine, but we would probably be on our third exercise already, So the machines and even the dumbbells and some of that stuff, they have a nice advantage of, it doesn't take, you always want to warm up, but you don't have to warm up nearly as much, and you can get through your workout a lot faster. Yep. There we go. Nice. That's like a double power. You had to like you went and you moved it like 5 feet because your arm's so long.
The spot was perfect. Like honestly, there's no way I would try that again without a spotter.
Yeah.
And I know it's funny, you'll see some people say, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch the bar. I'm like, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I like having your hands there.
Yeah.
I don't want to get buried. It's like, recovering at age 60 is much different. When I was training in my 40s, I felt night and day difference. But now it's like they go, what's the biggest difference? And I'll tell you, it's the recovery. It's how my body feels when I wake up the next day. It's like, at 60, do I want to roll out of bed and go, oh shit, I can't even move?
Right.
No, I don't want that, because I'm chasing around a little 15-year-old, and doing things at the house, and I want to be able to play baseball.
Chasing around a 15-year-old, he has kids.
Yeah, six kids.
He got his own children.
Yeah.
He's not chasing around 15-year-olds in a park.
I'm glad you clarified that. You got this shit, Mark.
I'll just say up, okay?
Yep. You got it.
Up.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I wanted to go for one more, but that second one slowed down quite a bit.